dark, dark tomb there was a dark, dark street, and in the dark, dark street there was a dark, dark office. In the dark, dark office there were some dark, dark stairs, and down the dark, dark stairs there was a dark, dark room, and in the dark, dark room was where the worst wrestling tropes go to die.
Hello, I'm Ross Tweddell from Cultaholic Wrestling, and welcome back to Straight to Hell, the show, of course, where my illustrious guest, they offer up a list of their pet peeves from the world of professional wrestling, which all then get sent down straight to hell, to rot for the rest of eternity. Joining us today, of course, is a lady who unfortunately was part of the recent releases from WWE, but a lady who now quite literally has the world at her feet. She is a hot mess. Her name is Chelsea Green. So without any further ado, over to Chelsea and Ross. Chelsea Green, thank you so much for joining us today. How the hell are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Look, I've got my Fujiwara armbar specialist shirt because Deonna retained her Impact women's title. So I had to wear it in celebration.
So, of course, we are coming to you, well, as we're sat here now, it is about, less than 24 hours after Impact's last pay-per-view. Certain hints might have been made during the course of the evening. Is there anything you can tell us about Impact Wrestling potentially in your future?
Okay, well, here's what I'll say. Never say never, because I had such a good relationship with them. Obviously, I was their women's champion in, I don't even know when that was, 2018 now? Oh my gosh. Feels like it was yesterday. And I have a great relationship with everyone in that company. So I am excited to, maybe pop in and out. Who knows?
Got to wait and see what happens there. But we've got to touch on what I guess the sort of history books of wrestling will look back on as the trash bag incident of last week. We saw Mickie James on Twitter receive her trash bag. I saw on Matt's Twitter last week you received your trash bag. What's your sort of takeaway, your reaction to that way of doing business? And if it's not being too intrusive, what's in the trash bag?
Okay, so let me tell you this. I'm calling it Trash Bag Gate. And for people who don't know, I just created a podcast. It just went live today. So it's like the first, 12 hours of it being live. On episode 2, I'm going to dive deep into what was in that trash bag, because let me give you a little hint here. It was not what you think. Mine was different than everybody else's. Oh. Yes. So I'm shaking a water bottle because my cat is right behind the screen, ready to literally jump in. He takes over the minute I get on camera. He tries to get in. He's an attention whore. But so look, I didn't take the trash bag that personally. Like, I just let things go. I don't really hold on to stuff like that. Things like that don't really bug me. But I'm so glad that Mickie stood up for herself, because she in turn stood up for all of us, and all 4 of us got trash bags. So it wasn't just her, it was all of us, and we just didn't say anything. So I'm really glad, especially because she's a legend. We should be sending her stuff in a friggin' gold box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's Mickie James. It's Mickie James. I can't say that about myself. It's Chelsea Green. I've been there for 2 seconds. I've had 10 debuts and broken my arm twice. So that's a little bit different. Maybe my stuff can be in a trash bag, but not Mickie James.
Yeah, it's just, I did like her response going, this is quite symbolic of how my time over the past few years has been, just throwing it back in their faces like that. But I saw Triple H saying that he didn't realize that is the way things have been done. And you see people sort of who got released years and years and years ago saying that was how they were treated as well. So I find that unbelievable that's just been that way for so long.
Well, it's one person. It's one person that takes care of taking all the stuff out of the drawer.
Yeah.
So they weren't lying. They probably didn't know. And 2, they did take care of this one person who had been disrespecting people for how long? I mean, we saw Gail Kim speak about this, and that was a long time ago. So, I mean, I think that the steps they took in the hours after it was realized that this has been going on were correct. They were the correct steps.
Yeah. And just to try and push you, I know you're going to address it on your podcast, but where does the stuff inside the trash bag come from? I'm just intrigued, so intrigued by this. I can't wait for the podcast to come out.
I'm excited. I've already got you hooked. So basically in WWE, we all have either a locker or a drawer or both. And so that's our stuff is, we do take gear home every single week, but you have to remember there's certain stuff that we just want to leave there, whether it's random shoes or things that we can wear in backstage segments. Maybe it's hair products. Maybe it's just like photos. Like, do you see that cat? This cat is ruthless. Sometimes it's like photos or like personal things or gear that we just leave there because we know we're going to come back the next week. Mm-hmm. So it's everyone's drawer, locker, whatever it is different.
Yeah. And speaking of the podcast, 50 Shades of Green, I listened to the first episode. I had time to squeeze it in there. That was the great thing about it as well. It was sort of 20, 25 minutes, no fluff, no faffing on whatsoever, just you sitting down in front of a microphone, just spitting some stuff. And it was thoroughly entertaining. Thoroughly entertaining from start to finish. I can't wait to see where the Hot Mess Confess section goes to, because the world's the oyster for that section. So I know it's sort of an open book at the moment, but do you have any sort of concrete plans in what sort of direction you want to take it? I know there's going to be sort of stuff about your life, about professional wrestling, about relationships as well. Where else are we going to dive with 50 Shades of Green?
So basically, I just want to make sure that it's not an interviewing podcast. So I will have people on. Obviously, like all of my best friends are wrestlers. And the ones who aren't wrestlers have crazy lives and crazy sex stories and crazy relationships. So we're all very dramatic. I've got a very dramatic group of friends and family. So I want to have everyone on, but I want it to just be totally conversational, totally just two friends sitting down, having a drink, talking about real stuff. And I think that that's kind of the beauty of like my relationship with Matt is we do put everything out there, and he does talk about me on his podcast, and I am going to talk about him, and I'm not afraid to talk about stuff that maybe other people don't want to air out. You know, like COVID has not been easy for any relationship, whether it's friends, family, significant other. So we're going to dive into stuff like that. But I don't want it to be just a regimented thing. I want it to be just stories, just total stories. And I think the beauty of, you know, I did debate having a co-host, but I think the beauty of, like you said, it just being me, there's no fluff. There's no empty space to just fill time. So, you know, this first episode being only 25 minutes, 22 minutes, like I truly wrote out all the things I was going to talk about, and I spoke about them so quick, and it was eye-opening. So I've already got my second episode. I've got the idea of what I'm going to talk about, and there's so much more now that I know I can include. So I'm going to try to keep it under an hour, but it's going to be good stuff. So we're going to talk about Trash Bag Gate, which that's my new name for it, Trash Bag Gate, and some relationship stuff with Matt, and embarrassing stories. Always, I've got so many.
I didn't realize that you did your finisher back to front. That is my main takeaway from today's episode. I didn't realize at the time.
I know. It's like that. I think the fun thing is we'll be like teasing what is on every episode. So I made a little, if you follow my 50 Shades Pod Instagram, you saw a little video that I did of me hitting the finisher wrong. And I think it was like 50% of people that watched that thought that was the finisher and didn't think anything of it. And then the other 50% were like, what the hell? We've watched her for 7 years. She never hit it that way. But also it kind of looked normal. So it's like, it's fun to dive into that stuff that I never got a platform, you know, to talk about it on. You know, NXT doesn't want me to like telling the whole world that I did my finisher wrong. Like we all laughed about it, but now I can really dive into it.
One episode I hope you do is just a complete thing about Vince McMahon, because I heard you speak about in previous interviews that you had a sort of a sit-down conversation with the man himself. I've heard so many fables about the guy. He's an enigma to me. What is he like just sat there face to face?
Okay, so it's funny because like I was obviously so scared because first of all, it's my boss. Second of all, it's the boss of my dream company. Third of all, he's Vince McMahon, and he's kind of scary. He's got a scary voice. He's big. He's, you know, burly. But like the minute that we spoke to each other, he was very warm, very inviting to me, and made me feel totally comfortable. I mean, I also have word vomit, so I'm sure that helped. Like I don't let there be any awkward, you know, space.
Yeah. And we heard you pitched sort of 15 ideas, sort of 15 gimmicks for your character, one of which was a more psychotic take on the Hot Mess from the Impact days back in the day. Could you tell us a couple more ideas that you maybe pitched towards Vince McMahon?
I did not steal any ideas, but I did pitch them. And so I had, oh my gosh, I had so many. I had a Daisy Duke character I had a priest, like a sexy nun character for the Messiah, like what would be like the Messiah's like follower, worshiper. I pitched to be Dominic's girlfriend. I'm telling you, I could go on forever. If you have an hour, I'll just keep going. I pitched so many. I think one of my favorites that I pitched was being a triconic. So like trying to get in and be with them and you know, do a fake Aussie accent and like try to split them up, but have them realize that I'm really the crazy one and that I'm doing this all. There were so many ideas that I had.
That triconic thing needs to happen somewhere, because that just makes the entire releases thing even more gutted, because that just seems to be money on the table everywhere. It just seems like a fantastic idea. But when you are pitching ideas like Dominic's girlfriend, or sort of, I assume it was for Rollins, the nun character, was it sort of following him? Do you have to clear it with those people first before taking it to Vince? Or are you just like, I'll try my luck, see what happens from here on out?
So when it's a girl, I do try to ask, because I feel like it's a respect thing. However, I'm too afraid to ask Seth Rollins, and I don't know Dominic, so I just pitched that. And honestly, I would say by about the 6th pitch, I didn't care. I was literally pitching whatever. I would have pitched to be with, I think at one point I pitched to be with Ziggler and Rude. I asked them. I pitched to be with Morrison and Miz. I didn't ask them, but they're Matt's friends. So like, it was kind of just like, you know what? I have an idea. I'm typing it. I'm sending it. And that's that.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Bloody hell, that Iconics thing needs to happen somewhere, I'm telling you. But I had Aiden English on here a little while ago, and he spoke about the queue of superstars outside of Vince McMahon's office door before every single Raw taping. We've seen via a picture on your social media accounts, I'll get Richard to put it on the screen right now, that you were a part of that queue. Many times I've heard you say in the past as well. Was it the same superstars every week in the queue? And what's the sort of atmosphere in the queue like? Is it sort of like, I'm going to go, I'm going to do it, he's going to hear my ideas and things are going to happen? Or is it sort of trepidation? Take me inside that queue.
That's so funny, because it's like, okay, so yes, there totally is a lineup, but we're kind of all pretending like we're not waiting in the lineup. So I have no shame. So I would sit under the Vince McMahon sign, the Vince's office sign. That's why you saw that picture. I think I took about 3, 4, 5 pictures under that sign, all the emotions. Like it always made me laugh when I took the picture and sent it to Matt, like still here, still waiting, you know? But really it's like we all kind of linger around the door and we all remember who's in the line and what order, but we try not to wait in a line, and people kind of come and go. And I wouldn't say it's always the same people, but it's always the same people for a certain amount of weeks until we get to talk to him. You know, he's so busy. There's not a chance that before every Raw or SmackDown, he's going to see everybody in that lineup. So there might only be one person. There might be none that get in that time. You know, you just never know. He could see 4 people that day. So I would say for like a couple weeks at a time, it would be the same people.
And on average, how long are you waiting there for?
Hours.
Hours? Literal hours?
Yeah, because you don't want to miss him.
Yeah.
And Vince is like on the move all the time. He's in production. He's hands-on. He's doing all the work. So if you miss him coming from production, going to his office, you don't know how long he's going to be in his office for. You don't want to interrupt someone when they're eating, when they're on the phone, when they're taking business meetings, when they're talking to Triple H. You don't want to interrupt any of that. So you kind of have to catch him while he's on the go, but hope he's not truly on the go, because then he's going and you can't catch him. So, I mean, yeah, I usually got there at call time, you know, and whatever that was, maybe 12, maybe 2. And then I would wait until 6 p.m.
Dedication.
But like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
That's my choice. I decided to sit there. I told myself, if my butt is sitting in this chair, it's not getting up until I see Vince McMahon.
I bet he must be terrified. Just he comes out the door, she's there. Comes out the door again, she's there still. But it's eating her now.
100%, 100%. Like probably took my meeting because I sat there for 3 weeks waiting. Like still here, didn't have it moved.
Hey, it's a good thing, though, showing that kind of willing. But continue with the sort of theme of backstage stuff. What are the key differences backstage in NXT and on the main roster? Because I'm sure someone else has mentioned this to you before. The amount of times we see somebody be a star in NXT and we think, wow, that's a ready-made character, could main event WrestleMania and stuff like that. And then go to the main roster and they sort of lose what made them in NXT, if that makes any sense? What are the sort of key differences there between NXT and the main roster?
Well, I think like the key difference would be the people who are leading charge, right? You can never, nobody in wrestling has the same vision for something. What I think the hot mess is totally different to what Paul Heyman envisioned it as and what Hunter envisioned it as, right? Yeah. Like there's just no way unless we sat down for hours and came up with a backstory and came up with a set plan. So like really the key difference is that there's two different visionaries and imaginations for what all these people and characters are supposed to do and how they're supposed to act. I mean, we also have seen people like Rhea and Bianca who were at the top in NXT and came over and were still the top. So it is very interesting, and I really don't think you can say why that happens, but like the main differences other than two different people are really the looks and feels of the brands too. Like NXT is so different than the main roster, with the setup, with the style of wrestling, with the kind of grungy, dark grittiness. Like that's like more of like a glorified indie show, like so much passion and everything. And then we go to Raw and SmackDown and we're focused on the entertainment side of things, and it's mainstream, and you know we want to kind of like do things that are trendy and now and you know and that's what I mean that's what I kind of sway more towards. Like I love comic relief and I love entertaining and I love being dramatic and being an actress and things like that, and I don't necessarily thrive being a down and dirty wrestler. Wrestling is just on the side for me. I love everything else that comes with wrestling.
I'm with you as well, because in wrestling today, at that sort of level, everyone's a good wrestler today.
Well,
if you're a character, that sets you apart, and that's what I'm there for, especially as well. But just quickly before we get to the straight to hell portion of the show, I'm going to turn it to a glossy magazine writer for a second, and I need to ask you, do you have a date yet with Matt? Because I saw your interview with Chris Van Vliet, and that whole visa thing was eye-opening to me. I had no idea that was a thing being over here in the UK. So do you have a date yet?
Okay, so no, we don't have a date yet. We're thinking we're just gonna do it within the next like month. So we did talk about it after that too. We have like spoken about it. We're just trying to figure out when we're gonna do it. I've gone ahead and contacted lawyers and you know, we're like on the track to get me a visa and get me a green card and have me legal and everything. And the way we're going about that is marriage. So guess what? He's getting married to me probably in the next month, but like it's not going to be, we're not planning the real ceremony until you know, COVID is hopefully not a thing, or at least until everyone is vaccinated, or until, you know, we can open the borders.
Yeah. And one last one before we get going. We've touched on Impact so far. AEW is the other main one that everyone's speaking about. I'm going to just be cheeky and say, is there any developments there with AEW potentially?
Well, I think, and I hope that yes, there is, because I did All In and I just think so highly of everyone in that company. You know, Cody Rhodes is Matt's best friend. You know, the Young Bucks, I've really looked up to my whole career. Kenny is Canadian. So all these people, I'm like, hello, I need a job, guys. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I have not decided on anything or gone any certain direction. Like I just have so many things to think about, and I really have to think going forward, how do I want to set myself apart? And right now I one thing on my bucket list to do is wrestle at Ring of Honor. I never got to do that, and so I'd really like to go there and whether it be sign a contract or whether it be have a match, I would love that. So I'm kind of like just going through the list of all the companies I want to work for, all the things I want to do, and then everything I want to do outside of wrestling, and how can I make it all kind of like work.
So outside of wrestling there, is there anything out, because obviously you have done sort of stunt doubling as well in the past. Is that what the outside of wrestling stuff is, or is it anything? Is it anything?
That's the thing. There's like so much on my bucket list. You know, I really, with my podcast, I really want to work to get it picked up by Barstool, which I tweeted, tried to get myself hired already by Barstool. And so I would like to thrive with the podcast. I would really like to, you know, and love hosting and talking. So if I could get some auditions and things like that. But again, with acting, with stunt doubling, with hosting, all those things and modeling require a visa, require you to be an American or be able to work here legally. So really, my mind is so focused on legal things right now. Like, that's all I can think about.
Yeah. And so let's move on to the straight to hell portion of the show. If I was to say to you, Chelsea Green, you can send a thing. We'll go through 5, but first of all, just the first thing, anything from the world of professional wrestling, whether it be inside the business or from your perspective, maybe as a fan as well, that you could send down to hell to rot for the rest of eternity. What would you send down first?
Twitter. Oh my God, Instagram, I feel like is so positive. Twitter is so negative. And we got this like cancel culture and like negative energy. And we just want to shit on everything. I don't know if we can swear on this, but we just want to
down to a minimum.
Yeah, we just want to bleep. We just want to bleep on everything. And Twitter, I just want Twitter to go straight to hell.
So, because I'm feeling the same way as well. The more I've had Twitter for about 5 years now, and it's just ever since I'm not going to put the blame on AEW, but they've made things worse. I tell you, the tribalism and the sort of you can't have an opinion for one thing because then they come and attack you. It happens the other way as well. Is that the sort of stuff you're speaking about, or is it other things as well?
No, 100%. So I never felt that at All In, and I never felt it with Impact, and I never felt it with Lucha Underground, but I feel it with WWE. I feel it. It's almost like the WWE universe thinks that we're all against each other or something. And it's not even just WWE versus other companies. It's within WWE. Like, I've been attacked for so many things that I didn't even know I said wrong. Like, I think people are just waiting for you to say something wrong so they can cancel you. And that's just so negative and not at all what I'm about. And I just don't think Twitter is as positive. It's not going in a positive direction. And I like to focus on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm very much with you there. Why can't we like more than one thing in wrestling, eh? Why does it have to be one thing and then hate and despise and want the other thing to die?
Oh, I'm telling you, like the stands. You don't want to piss off a stand because they'll come for you.
I tweeted a very positive thing about Sasha Banks the other day, and the Sasha stands, even in my mentions there, when I was positive about her, they came after me. I've just said a nice thing about Sasha Banks.
I'm telling you, they're the toughest. I've been ripped apart when I never even said anything about her. So I totally know. And keep in mind, I'm in the same locker room as her. I like her. I think she's an amazing wrestler, and they come for you.
Does she have an opinion on her stands? I feel weird speaking like this.
Yeah, I know, right? I hate her too, but I don't know if she does. Like, I honestly think she's so focused on like her thing and thriving, and like it shows. I don't even know if she knows she has stands. Yeah,
maybe. But I tell you what, Twitter can go straight down to hell for me, because it used to be a nice place just to have a nice civil discussion with people. But now it's just like we all need to behead each other or something like that. And it's not worth the effort, is it? Just like it's there to be enjoyed, but it's just like I'm going to go on Twitter now because I need it for my job to promote videos and stuff like that. You need it for the same stuff, but that's all it's for now, isn't it? Just to promote.
No,
things.
It really is, and you have to watch out. You know what opinions you put out there, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. So Twitter is down in hell. Chelsea, another thing about the world of professional wrestling you like to send straight down to hell?
Ooh, I mean, I wish that I could send spray tan straight down to hell, but it looks so good. But I wish I could, because I hate having to get spray tans.
Is this in terms of when there may be, I don't know how it works in the wrestling ring. Do they rub off on each other? I don't know how it works.
No, but like, okay, here's the thing. With all the lights, it washes you out so much. So you have to get a spray tan in order to not look like ghostly. So we all get spray tans, and like they smell, they get my towels dirty, my sheets dirty. I look dirty. God forbid the spray tan doesn't go properly on my hands or my feet. Twitter will come for me then. So I just want spray tans to go straight to hell.
It's not the most practical thing for a wrestler either when you're sweating, because we've seen that. I think it was MJF on Impact, on AEW, a couple of weeks ago. Sort of the little beads that happen. And
yeah. Haven't you ever looked at my fiance's Instagram account? It was just dripping the other day down his arm. I'm like, that is disgusting.
And you can't avoid it, can you? Surely.
Oh no, you can't. I mean, I'm like a sweaty person. Luckily, my spray tan has never dripped like that. But I mean, now that I've said it, it probably will.
And speaking of going back to your gimmicks from earlier on, maybe a female Sheamus is the way to go here, just to avoid the spray tan.
Well, I think Paige and Sheamus had it right. Like, I really think that they did. I agree with that.
And why do you think? Is it literally just because maybe tan skin looks better than fleshy white skin?
It's purely just because a spray tan brings out your muscles, for one. Like, that's just like a fact. We all know that because we're in this business. And the lights, like, you just need some sort of color. You don't have to be the most tanned person ever, but you just need a little bit of a spray tan just to like make yourself look alive, which is so crazy. Yeah. But those lights are just really harsh out there.
So there we go. Spray tans are straight down to hell. Chelsea, a third thing to send down to hell.
I would say the division between companies. I wish that there was a time when I love that Impact and AEW are doing stuff together. You know, I love that New Japan and Impact are doing stuff together. I don't like the division. And I don't know if that division is partly because of social media or if it's just a division that us as wrestlers have made. But all my friends are in different companies. I support them all. You know, just because I support someone in AEW does not mean AEW confirmed. Just because I support Deonna as an Impact champion does not mean I'm Impact Wrestling confirmed. It doesn't have to be like that. There doesn't have to be separation. We all love wrestling. We can all support each other. We can all thrive together. Everyone can be on a different night. We're going to be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my uninformed opinion, very much speaking from the outside of the wrestling business, is that maybe Vince McMahon is the reason there's not more of it happening today, because he sort of built a wall around WWE, and sort of if he's not maybe buying companies, they can't work together because, I don't know, cross-promotion doesn't work for him. It does seem weird that more wrestling companies, especially with WWE as well, don't work together, because surely what's good for one company working together with the other is just good for the business as a whole.
Well, you think so, right? But I mean, I guess because WWE is the biggest company and just has thrived for years now, that maybe they don't feel like they have to. They feel like they're the top dog, and you know, you don't need to help the others. But I will say that nobody has ever at WWE got upset with me for posting pictures of my friends or tweeting about other shows. Like, I will say, like, I think that that's like a negative connotation that WWE has, like that we're not allowed to support other people, but that's not true. I never have gotten trouble for that.
Right, because I just assumed that would have been a thing that they put on you. You're not allowed to tweet about X company, Y company. Are there any sort of rules like that on social media when it comes to WWE? Like, you're not allowed to tweet about this or whatever?
I mean, not for me. Like, I don't want to say that there aren't rules, because I don't actually know, but nobody ever said anything to me. Also, I came from the indies and I came from all those companies. So maybe they were lenient on me, or they knew that, like, I'm going to support all my friends in all these companies. Like, there's no way you can tell me not to. But there's definitely not any written rule anywhere. And we have a lot of like handbooks and things like that where, you know, there are rules and regulations to this business, but nowhere does it say anything about other companies.
So to put you on the spot right now, just to bring the whole wrestling world together, if I was to say a dream match for you with the current AEW women's division, who is your dream match there? Is it obvious?
I mean, I feel like it's obvious, but then also I want to tell you that I mean, Sheeta's the champion, so I should just say Sheeta.
Right.
Because why would I not want to go straight for the top?
But if Dr. Britt Baker beat her,
then we're talking. Now it's obvious.
And is Impact obvious as well?
Impact is definitely obvious.
And maybe,
yeah, definitely Deonna.
Yeah, and maybe a promotion in the Far East maybe as well. Do you have eyes over there as well?
You know what? My eyes are everywhere.
Bloody
I'm looking at all the companies, all the countries. I'm trying to go wherever I can to pick up as many titles as I can.
Yeah. And your sort of first storyline maybe in Ring of Honor, if you do get, well, when you do get the match there, it's set in stone, isn't it? Just take the cavalry over to AEW, start another war there between AEW and Ring of Honor.
Exactly, right? I just feel like there's so many amazing, talented people at Ring of Honor. And with COVID, you know, we didn't get to see that. It kind of like, they kind of shut down for a little bit. So I'm just like really excited for them to get up and running and hopefully to get over there at some point.
So there we have it. Division is also down in hell. Chelsea, a fourth thing to send down to hell, please.
Okay. I would say send down to hell in wrestling. not that many things that I would send down to hell in wrestling. Maybe I would send down to hell the difficulty as an indie wrestler to travel within countries to be seen. I wish that, and I feel this way very strongly about Aussies and about Canadians. There's so many talented Canadians and Aussies on the indies that are just not seen. And I want to like send that straight to hell. Why can't everyone, you know, have all the same eyes on them, or everyone come to America and wrestle, and so that we can all see them, because I just want all those people to be seen and have a job.
So do you just literally mean like exposure for the companies in Canada and in Australia?
Mostly for the people, the individual people. Like, there's just not the same exposure that there is in the UK and in America. And I'm sure the UK feels this way, like, too. Like, you just don't have as much exposure as you do in America. America is just where all the eyes are. And I wish that more people saw the talented indie wrestlers in Canada and Australia, because there's so many.
Yeah, who are a few that we should be keeping an eye on from Canada, first of all?
So there is Artemis Spencer. So he is Nicole Matthews' husband. Nicole Matthews is in Shimmer and like all over the place. And he is one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. I'm actually really glad. I would have said El Phantasmo, but now like El Phantasmo is all over the place. And I remember watching him in one of my first matches and thinking like, holy cow, he's so good. I would have said Kellyanne Bean, but now she is, I think, with Ring of Honor. So she's Australian. She is one of my favorite matches ever. Of course, Madison Eagles in Australia. There's a lot of amazing guys in Australia. They're just like, the list goes on. And every year there's more people coming up, and they're just struggling to be seen.
Yeah. What is the remedy? That is a loaded question, I do concede, but what do you think is the remedy for that?
I mean, the remedy would be making it easier as a performer to get into America and perform.
Yeah.
But I understand why it's not. But I just wish that there was just like maybe a 2-week or 30-day visitor visa that people could get with, like, that goes hand in hand with performing, like a performer's visitor visa, where they're not going to stay there forever, but they're allowed this time to go and to get that exposure. Because I mean, really, in any sort of entertainment industry sector, you need to be in America. Yeah.
How does it work the first time you do travel into America to perform? Is it the company you're working for? They set the visa up? Is that how it works? I haven't got a clue, sorry.
No. That's it.
No.
Or you go in and you hope that someone doesn't stop you at the border.
Yeah.
And that's very scary, you know, but that's like the risk that a lot of indie wrestlers take to get that exposure to come and try to get their name out. Because how else are you going to do it?
Yeah, it's something we never hear about as fans, really. You just got to appreciate the bollocks,
I know,
for want of a better
guys,
word.
You know, you come to shows during WrestleMania weekend, you don't realize you're seeing all this international talent. You're not realizing what they had to do to get there, to get in that country, or to even get that booking.
Yeah. Madness there. So there we have it. There's exposure for more talents in Canada, Australia, places like that. That can go, well, the fact it's not there can go down to hell. So finally, a fifth and final thing to send to hell, please, if I can push you for one. Okay,
let's think about this. I would say the word debut can go to hell. Okay? I never ever again do I want to hear the word debut. I'm never making another friggin' debut ever again. We're just gonna call it like a comeback. I'm just coming back, okay? No more debuts, because every time a debut happens, I've had like 7 of them just in WWE, and none have worked out. So we're gonna send debuts straight to hell.
It's incredible the luck you had with the NXT debut, or the NXT, whatever the word we're going to use here, and the SmackDown, whatever word we're going to use here, because you had the same injury twice, and that can't have happened to anybody ever.
No, I know. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
You know, one thing that that Vince said was, wow, if you didn't have bad luck, you might not have any luck at all. And that might be the most true thing anyone has ever said to me. I was like, oh my God, you're so right. You're so right. Like, why have I had such bad luck here? I had such good luck in my wrestling career. I used it all up. I got to WWE and it was all friggin' downhill from every debut.
Yeah. So did you see Vince McMahon after the SmackDown one, I presume?
I did, yes, because I went back to try to pitch more ideas. Surprise, surprise.
Ah, so what's his sort of reaction when because it must be a weird position for him to be in, see a superstar get injured with the same injury twice. Was he weird with that sort of thing, or how was he receiving to that sort of thing happening?
No, everybody was really good because my attitude is not like negative or sour about it. Like everyone was really good. Honestly, we all just laughed about it. Like, of course, like when we hand you something that's so perfect, you have bad luck and you break your arm again, like what are the chances, and what are the chances that you have never really had an injury in wrestling and then this?
Because that must be the most annoying thing, is the fact that maybe in some quarters now people see the same injury happening twice and she's injury prone, even though you're not.
Oh, I can't even tell you the amount of times that people have said that on my social media, Twitter mostly, or that I got released because I'm injury prone. Like, guess what? We got into this knowing that things like this were going to happen. Did I have bad luck? Yes. But am I injury prone? Absolutely not. I work out very hard every single day and I don't get injured doing that. I've never got injured playing all the sports I've played, my whole life. So I'm good. I don't have brittle bones, people.
And I've got to ask as well, because I think I saw somewhere that you signed a new contract after that SmackDown injury. Is that right?
Yeah, I signed a 3-year deal after, right before 2021.
So how does it feel like signing that new deal and clearly learning that someone sees something in you that works for that company that would have given you a contract like that for that long, and then not being given a sort of fair crack at the whip? That must be gutting after what happened.
Well, I think that's why I was shocked that I was released, because it's almost a good thing that I was released before, I showed them any negative side of me. I hope that means that in the future they will think, maybe we didn't give her a chance. Maybe she can come back and she can thrive now, and that just wasn't her time. But that is why it was shocking to me. I did not think I was going to get released because I really hadn't even had a shot. Yeah.
So there we have it. The word debut can go down to hell. Although you've turned it around already with that first podcast, I tell you, because I had a great time listening to that today.
Thank you.
Is that the first great debut since when? Since how long has it been now?
Yeah, seriously, since Lucha Underground.
There we go. Many, many years. So there we have it, Chelsea. Thank you very much for your 5 things to send down straight to hell. Anything to promote outside the podcast for you going on currently?
Really, that's it. Like, just follow me on social media. I have a million different handles, but my podcast is at 50 Shades Pod. And I'm just going to try to keep everyone up to date on those Instagram and Twitter handles with whatever happens after July 14th. Like, you just have to kind of stay tuned. I hate when people say that. Stay tuned for what I'm going to do next. But like at this point, I don't even know what's going to come next. So I'm very excited.
I think that day's a Wednesday.
It is. It is a Wednesday. How good's that, hey?
Hey, things are going to happen now. But just before we go, how's Dude doing? Because I tell you what, that dog, I followed him. I assume he made the Instagram account on his own, of course, but I've followed that dog for a while now.
He's got thumbs. He's got thumbs, if you didn't know.
What a beautiful dog.
Isn't he just he's passed out right now in the hallway. He turns into just like a mushy blob when he lays down, but he's so good, and he's almost 11 months.
That's hard to believe. Just those pictures of Matt picking him up and seeing him grow week to week. Incredible stuff. Burner doodles, eh? Fantastic.
I know, and he's 80 pounds. He's like a big human Bernedoodle.
There we go. So Chelsea, thank you for your time today. I've enjoyed this very much so. All the best for the future, obviously. That is it for this episode of Straight to Hell. We'll see you next time.